I will go ahead and call to order the February meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners. And Kim, can you start us off with the roll call, please?
Yes. Kathleen Mills.
Here.
Ellen Rodkey.
Here.
Israel Herrera.
Here.
Jim Whitlatch.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kim. And then we'll move on to our consent calendar, which Kim sent us a few days ago to look over. That includes the minutes from our January 26th meeting, claims submitted in the last month, non-reverting budget amendments, business report, and there's always a bit of surplus to declare. So do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I will move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay.
Second.
All right.
Second.
Great. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion is carried to approve the consent calendar. And then yes, as Paula said, we have a pretty packed agenda today of other business. If there is anyone in the Zoom who would like to make a public comment, that will be at the end of the meeting after we get through the business section here, section B. So we will start with the review of the partnership agreement with the Buzzkirk Chumley Theater, which is going to be Sean Starowitz.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Getting it. That's
Yep.
perfect. Okay. Sean Starowitz, ESD. Staff recommends the approval of the 2021 BCT partnership agreement. The Buzzkirk Chumley Theater is owned by the City of Bloomington and has been successfully administered and maintained through the cooperative partnership agreement between the City of Bloomington, Parks and Recreation Department, Board of Public Works, the RDC, Buzzkirk Chumley Management Theater, Inc., and Economic and Sustainable Development since 2001. The current agreement will expire on March 1st, 2021. In 2020, the City Council provides $55,000 in operational support for the BCTM in their appropriation for the 2021 Council office. Public Works administers those funds. The Parks Department provides up to $15,000 for eligible maintenance projects, which the Operations Division Director Tim Street oversees with the BCT Director on the distribution of those funds. And then in addition to that, the RDC Commission provides $74,000 from the consolidated TIF for eligible and permitted rehab and repair expenses at the theater. The Parks and Rec Department will also administer those funds. Both the Redevelopment Commission and the Board of Public Works have their respective meetings on 2/16/21. In 2001, last year, that has shifted over to Economic and Sustainable Development. So it's our first go at this. I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have. There's not really any major overhauls or changes. It's mainly the typical year-to-year agreement that we've been slowly clarifying over the years as we've been in this partnership. There's a few, major changes are really just around date changes and reporting mechanisms that work best for the new director, Jonah Crismore, who has been in the position since March 15th of 2020. We are in full support of his leadership. It's been a tremendously hard year on the Buzzkirk Chumley, and we're behind them 100% on this, and we think they do a great job. So I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have from the Parks Board.
Okay, thank you, Sean. I do have, excuse me, a question, but I'll just defer first to other board members and see if you have any questions for Sean or comments.
What is going on with the Buzzkirk Chumley now? I'm not too plugged in since I'm pretty much, so are they open for any business? Do they have an opening date? What's kind of going on with them right now?
Since they're predominantly an indoor venue. Yeah, since they're predominantly an indoor venue, not a whole lot, just based off of current, COVID restrictions based on the capacity. They did do some updating of some of the HVAC system with the Blue Boy retail space and those kinds of things to get up to code. They've been trying to do a variety of online programming that has been successful over the last year. They're still investigating that and still trying to be a resource for a variety of the theater and performing arts groups. They've been very good about getting grants and support. Jonah has been very heavily involved in the Indiana Venue Alliance, which was very seminal in the Save Our Stages Act, which will impact things like the Bluebird and a variety of other organizations. So right now they're kind of dormant in a lot of the activity just because of COVID restrictions.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Yes, good to know. And hoping I saw New York City movie theaters opening soon here. And I know in the pandemic, we've always been just a few months kind of behind, some of the East Coast activity. So maybe we can see activity at the Buzzkirk Chumley again soon. I just had a quick question on the Exhibit D, which maybe this has been in here before and I just never noticed it, but it just was an interesting firearms policy that BCTM does not standardly restrict firearms. However, any presenter, partner, and performing artist may request firearms be prohibited as long as they compensate the BCTM for the cost of hiring security. So I just wondered if that was new or if that came up from any previous, like a presenter asked to have that, or is that impacted by state laws about guns in public spaces? Or sorry, that's like 4 questions in one.
Yes. Yeah, it's been something that's been slowly refined. As a city entity, we can't restrict. So it's based off of them as a venue having the capacity. I think that has come up previously with presenters asking for that in a variety of kind of ways. So I think it's just that kind of nomenclature and clause that legally allows them to restrict if they need be. But part of it's tied to, the fact that it's a city-owned building and that they can go above and beyond what the city can restrict. And so that's part of that Exhibit D. But I can seek more clarity from our legal team, Larry, and send Parks Board if that's of importance to you all.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious. Like I said, I assumed it was related to, what the city can and can't do in terms of state laws there, but that's fine. Thank you for the clarification. So yeah, this has been a long-standing, really solid partnership agreement. So if we don't have any other questions, do we have a motion for approval of the partnership agreement with BCTM?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a public recognition to Jonah also for just doing great work, and March 15th to start a new job of 2020 certainly will be a memory for his career, but grateful for his leadership during all of this time. So if there's no other comments, I will move to approve the partnership agreement with BCT. Thank you, Sean.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, the motion's carried. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you all.
And then we had a look at our upcoming master plan before, but Paula in B2 will tell us about resolution 21-02, the Parks Master Plan for up through 2025.
Great, thank you. Paula McDevitt, Director of the Parks and Recreation Department, and I'm here to recommend the approval of Resolution 2102 for the formal adoption of the 2021-2025 Comprehensive Master Plan as prepared by our consultant Troyer Group, the Principal Jonathan Gills. And yes, back in December, the Park Board had a presentation from Jonathan with very in-depth where he went through all of the parts that go into creating a master plan. And as I've stated before, this is a critical piece of how we operate our department. We have a new master plan every 5 years, and for the decades I've been with the department, we've always had a master plan. So it's definitely an exciting time and an end product that we look forward to because it is virtually our roadmap for the next 5 years. But most importantly, it's a roadmap that is dictated by incredible public input. And that is why we hire a consultant every time to do this, because it is a massive undertaking. And just some of the, quickly, some of the tasks that Troyer Group performed was reviewing all of our program plans, facilities. They did an intensive community needs assessment, and in your packet, there was the executive summary, and there is one particular page that cites all the different public inputs, avenues that they implored, from open house meetings to stakeholder groups. We had an incredible return on our survey, 531 statistically valid surveys returned. People spent a lot of time giving us public comment back in their surveys, which is also valuable. So that was really the first step that Troyer Group took, and they compile all that information, analyze it, and it comes out in the form of 4 main goals. And I talk about them as goals, and each goal in the executive summary has a strategy. And I'll just quickly read the 4 goals for the public that are watching. Our number 1 goal is to maintain and enhance the assets and natural resources of the department. This is a goal that we pretty much see on a regular basis in every master plan, because we are responsible for $84 million worth of assets. Maintaining those assets is critically important to our operation. And as you all know, this community values our parks and trails and playgrounds and all of our assets. And so we hear them loud and clear in the survey that they want us to take care of those assets. Goal number 2 is to reinforce activities and programs to positively impact public health, sustainability, and climate action. Very excited about this goal, especially as it calls out public health, sustainability, and climate action. There's a lot of work being done, not only in parks departments, but in other areas, other departments in the city, economic sustainability department with their climate action plan, and we are very much part of that plan. So we are thrilled that this is, again, our community saying that this is work that we should be engaging in as a parks department. Goal number 3 is to prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion. And again, a lot of community input on this. We have an opportunity and a role that the department can play in that area, and we're looking forward to additional training, engaging with our community. And I think we've already seen this year through some partnership agreements that we are embarking already on goal number 3. And then finally, goal number 4, develop administrative and staffing capacity. And really, what strategic action plan or master plan doesn't have a goal that addresses staffing and administrative responsibilities? As we grow and feel those growing pains and demands increase, and we add trails and more amenities, it's going to have an impact on our staffing. So we want to definitely spend some time working on that. So again, this recommendation is for the approval of this resolution. Upon this approval, staff will begin embarking on the strategic action plan, which really, as I call it, getting down into the weeds. And they will come up with all kinds of tasks that will be timelined over a 5-year period. And we will track the progress of those tasks and that we are accomplishing. So 5 years from now, we will look back on this plan and be able to say that we accomplished these goals and strategies and associated action plans. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Are there any questions for Paula about this master plan?
Paula, being new to the board, I guess my question is, how will the board be involved or know over the next 5 years that we're making progress on these goals? Will they be reviewed on an annual basis by us, or how does that go? So we just don't, 5 years from now, we just don't look back and see we met some or we didn't meet some or whatever. So how does that work?
Great question. Thank you. These goals and strategic action plan tasks will be part of our annual goals as we work on our budget. And as our former Parks Director used to call this, is our scorecard. And we will be reporting back on an annual basis to the board at the end of the year. what our scorecard looks like, how many we accomplished, what didn't get accomplished or what had to be changed. And that reporting back to you is also part of our national accreditation standard that we are required to get that check-in and review and approval by the board. So this will be a document and a progress report that you will all be very well-versed and informed upon.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Okay. Israel or Ellen, any questions about or comments?
I was just, if I remember correctly, our strategic plan is really important in our accreditation process, correct? And when do we submit for a reaccreditation?
We are up for reaccreditation the first week of June. We already have our date set. It will be a virtual visit from representatives, trained visitors. But we are actually pushing the send button on all the materials on March 12th. So we are coming down here on the final push to get all of our standards and associated documentation. So this year, and that also, once we are successfully reaccredited, that will be good for 5 years as well. So both the master plan and accreditation run along parallel paths every 5 years.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, yes, I just want to thank Paula and her team, because this is so outstanding, and we could see last year, you know, the strategic plan, and we are going to have many interesting and valuable things for the community. So yeah, thank you, Paula.
Thank you. And again, I'd like to thank our community for being so involved and having the response that we have. That just really helps us do our jobs better and helps us meet the goals of the future. So thank you. And especially during COVID, it was definitely a different process.
Yes, and we shout out before, but again to the Troyer group for really thorough, the pop-up engagements, the survey, as you say, especially during COVID, to get that much feedback from people. And I just remember several, Israel and Ellen and us we were interviewed by them individually, and it was very thorough. Yeah, so yeah, happy to see this on here. And do we have a motion to approve Resolution 2102, Parks and Rec 2021 to 2025 Master Plan?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion is unanimously carried. And then we will go over to Shepherd's Construction for a little bit of work at People's Park, which is Tim Street.
Hi, Board. Tim Street, Operations and Development Director for Parks. I'm here to recommend the approval of a contract addendum with Shepherd's Construction for People's Park, not to exceed $3,400 for additional concrete work at People's Park. The background on this is that in December, the Park Board approved a contract with Shepherd's Construction to do some additional concrete work in People's Park. Upon review of those plans, we've made a determination that it would also be to our advantage to have them pour the new foundation for the Wings of Opposing Views sculpture, aka the Bun sculpture that is in People's Park, as we shift it just east a little bit. It will save us a lot of time and will be very easy to have all that concrete work done all at one time. This is part of a facelift for People's Park that includes some concrete renovations, some additional concrete, some concrete resealing, and eventually the installation of a new central light fixture. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, yes, so we saw this before, just a little update on the sculpture. So any questions or comments from board members?
No, I think Dave Williams educated us on Bonamite concrete.
Bonamite concrete, that's right.
Okay, all right.
Move
Yeah,
to
go ahead.
approve. Move to
Okay.
approve.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, thank you, Tim. That motion is unanimously carried. And then we're still there in People's Park for the service agreement with Everywhere Signs. I believe this is the crane, but we need a crane to move this extremely heavy. Yes, so, oh, sorry, this is Mark. Mark?
Good.
Yeah,
Hello, how are you guys doing?
okay.
Good. All right. So as Tim was just saying, first off, Mark Maratz, Operations Superintendent. This kind of goes along with what Tim was saying there with the concrete work happening in People's Park. That bun sculpture / bench, the weight of that is just not, we don't have the equipment to relocate that safely. It will be moving about 20-25 feet to the east towards the bicycle garage. So I'm seeking approval for a contract with Everywhere Sign for them to come in with their crane to relocate with that for us, in coordination with Shepherd's Construction once they have the concrete work done for us. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And apologies, Mark, if this is already in the packet, but is this going to move there and then stay in that location, or is it going to have to be moved back after the work?
No, once the concrete work is done by Shepherd's, they're going to pour the pad for the bench to move then, and it will be in a new permanent location.
Okay. Okay, great. All right. Any other questions or comments about this one? Okay, we have a motion on B4.
Yep, we'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Carrie, thank you, Mark. And then Tim is back to tell us about the MOU with the City of Bloomington Utilities. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Actually, this one is off the.
That will be pushed to March.
Yeah, that's the Hidden River is so hidden it's moving to next month. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and Kathleen, I'll just jump in here. The community will see work commencing. That is a CBU project, and there's total explanation about the project on our website is linked to that project, just so that if people are wondering what's going on, and this MOU is in its final stages, but it's an internal MOU between the Parks Department and CBU. There were just some final details to get worked out, but in case anyone is wondering, that is that project is kicking off. You'll see some movement in there.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for that in case anyone sees work there. So then we'll move on to B6, which we've had before, Skip Daily and Trivia MC Services. So Bill Ream.
Good afternoon, Bill Ream, Community Events Coordinator, and I'm here to recommend the approval of a contract for services with Skip Daily. He will be coordinating and hosting up to 8 trivia events held by the department this year. It'll be coming out of Community Events non-reverting account, and the amount is not to exceed $1,200. This year will be the second year for the Bloomington Trivia Championship Series. The series consists of 5 nights of trivia from March through November and an invitation-only championship night in December. He will be creating all the questions and answers for the events and will be the MC at the events. The contract is for up to 8 events in case we decide to hold other trivia-related events this year. Skip did a great job with the trivia series in 2020, and we are happy to have him help us again this year. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, I know that's been really popular, especially as the number of things to do during the pandemic has kind of dwindled. So, plus I'm excited because I used to participate in the library quiz bowl, and now they've stopped doing the quiz bowl. So, yeah. All right. Any questions or comments about the contract with Skip Daily for the Trivia Championship Series?
Move to approve.
Okay. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Motion carried. And then Bill will also tell us about a review of some alcohol sales at some community events at Switchyard Park, which is new.
Yes, I'm here to recommend the approval of the sale of alcohol at Parks and Recreation events taking place at Switchyard Park. The staff will utilize local vendors to provide the alcohol and will work with the vendors to secure a bar area where individuals 21 and over will be able to purchase and consume alcohol within a designated area at various department-run events at the park. The department would like to offer alcohol sales at specific events managed by the department and taking place in that park. We'll work with, as I said, we'll work with local vendors for the sale of alcohol. These vendors will be responsible for following all of our internal requirements for an alcohol permit. In addition, they have to sign a concessions agreement, department's concessions agreement, in which they give us 10% of their gross sales of the night. And they also have to get their state board of alcohol, or sorry, state of Indiana Alcohol and Tobacco Commission alcohol permit. And they do that for each event. And the vendor is required to do that and then provide us a copy of that. Some of the events where we would like to have alcohol sales include, but are not limited to, the Trivia Championship Series, Performing Arts Series, concerts, movies, and we're at a Yappy Hours. There's a concert we're going to do near the dog park where we'd like to do that. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thanks, Bill. So yeah, and just for background, I think we've approved alcohol sales at various things before. There was the film clip, Ryan Park, right? And yeah.
Richard Park is currently the only place we can do that right now. And it was approved that in 2020, the Trivia Championship had it. And I think we were going to have some of the concerts, and it just, I think that just that didn't work out just because of some of the restrictions stuff we had to do. So we're hoping to bring it back, expand it a little this year. And this does not include any private run events. They have to go through the regular department alcohol permitting process. This is a separate thing. This is just department sponsored events.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's good to know. Okay. And it's always been handled very well before with fenced off area and all the other procedures that you've mentioned. So any board questions or comments about this, allowing these sales in certain events in Switchyard Park?
So who is responsible for doing the fencing off and enforcement and all that type of thing? Do we as the park or the city do that, or do the vendors that provide it, are they responsible for that?
It's a little of both. The big picture, the big area we are responsible for, and then if we need to, we can, within that, there needs to be a specific blocked off area. It can be as simple as like a stanchion with a rope, or another little fenced area to designate that it's a bar area and that those 21 and under cannot go in there. And we did it in the pavilion. He just has one side of there's a serving window. He just has one side for alcohol and one side for food. And there's just kind of a little line down the middle. And he does that. It can be, but it's a little bit of both. It's kind of what if they have some of the vendors have ropes and stanchions and signage and stuff that they can just come and set it up. Otherwise we can help. We have all the equipment to help do that.
So I guess this is my legal paranoid hat that I'm wearing, but I guess and maybe this is a question for you and Paula or somebody else, but do we feel that we have the expertise, the training and so forth to do that? In other words, to play that role? Who's responsible if somebody gets too intoxicated and deciding they don't get served anymore? We certainly don't want somebody to drive away and have an accident. I'm not against it at all. In fact, I'm in favor of it. It makes for a nice event. I just want to make sure that the ball doesn't get dropped between us and the vendors and everybody else. And then I guess the question that goes along with that, do we have, what kind of insurance do we have that will cover this type of event? Do we have insurance to cover that?
I will start, and then I'm sure Paula can answer more. As far as the vendor is responsible for checking IDs, for being aware of the amount of alcohol being served and all that. As a staff, we will watch that as well and let the vendor know if something is happening. It's something we kind of do anyway. We're very aware of everybody in our events and what they're doing.
Can I add into this?
Yeah.
This is Becky Higgins. I'm the Recreation Services Division Director. Nice to meet you. And we follow all state regulations regarding the serving of alcohol. We take it very seriously. And if there are outside groups that are using one of our facilities for alcohol, we require security, we require the insurance listing us as an additional insured. And within our own system, we keep it small enough and we follow the same procedure. So we do, rest assured, we are on top of it.
Well, and it's my understanding, having spent many years myself working in the one whose name is on that permit through the state. So they're the ones that apply for that. It's their bartenders, all of that.
Correct. We do not actually serve it ourselves. It is all through the vendor.
Okay.
Right. I believe Becky, so with the alcohol provided, is there any restriction, or this is up to the vendor to offer a open, sales of any kind of alcohol, or is there any restriction about the kind of alcohol that could be sold in the site?
For the most part, we do beer and wine, especially for outside vendors. Now, within the pavilion with weddings and things, which we haven't gotten into as much as we wanted to, that would be more of an open bar kind of setup where actual hard, spirits are offered. Yes. But that's within the facility, within the building, and it's in a more controlled environment. Out in the park, we don't do that. We just stick with beer and wine.
Thank you. And regarding security, because Bill, I see different events, proposed events here, concerts and movies and the trivia event. So security changes from event to event, the number of people expected for the event. How many are we going to have in the park, depending on what is scheduled with alcohol?
You mean how many security would we have? It depends on the size of the event, but the area we are set up now with a fencing to fence off completely, and then within that area there would be the actual service area where you would go up and purchase your alcohol. And so the security is up in that area, and then monitoring the whole site. We haven't gotten to the big, really huge events yet. And when we've done this, it's been on a smaller scale. So usually 1 to 2 security people have been all that we have asked for. That is a great question, and it is something that we will have to consider as we grow in the size of gatherings that we're allowed to have.
Thank you, Becky.
Okay. If we don't have any other questions or comments, we'll take a motion on this one, B7.
I'll move to approve the alcohol sales at community events at Switchyard.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, motion is carried. Thank you, Bill. And next up, Sean Marler will tell us about the contract with Electric Plus, which is also at Switchyard Park.
Hi, Sean Marler, Switchyard Park General Manager. I know at times in the last conversation, I kind of wanted to jump in and help out, but Becky answered everything, so that sounded good. I'd like to recommend that the board approve the service agreement for Electric Plus. The amount is for $9,900. This is not for a specific task. Rather, this is to lock in labor rates in anticipation of work that may be needed down the road, potentially. There are 2 jobs that we are looking at having Electric Plus do. One is for approximately $2,000. That would be to add timers to 3 different light systems in the park. That would be the cantilever lights at the Boss, the cantilever lights at Pickleball, and the skate park lights. Currently, those lights are tied into the trail system lights so that they are on all night if we left them. There's also approximately $840 in work to replace a light that was damaged in a car accident. So again, this money is for anticipated work, just to mainly lock in labor rates. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
So Sean, I think you mentioned around 2,000 and something for the timers, and then another 800 for the car accident lights, and then the amounts 9,900. So is there some other anticipated work or?
Not currently. For service agreements, we generally make them for a larger amount, just so that if we do get a new job that has to come out, we don't have to do a new service agreement for it, just in case. So currently, those are the only work that we have in the pipeline, possibly for this vendor. Okay.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I was just curious, is this new, Sean? Because this is the first year since Switchyard was handed off from the contractors, right?
Correct. So this is the first year we'll be operating without warranty at Switchyard Park. Electric Plus, and I apologize, I should have said this. Electric Plus was the subcontractor that did the electrical work at Switchyard Park. Having them do much of this work would actually save us money because they already know the system. They're the ones who installed it.
Yep, that makes complete sense.
And just for additional background on service agreements, we have those throughout the department for those unforeseen emergency situations that do come up. And sometimes it's after hours or an inconvenient time. So to have these service agreements in place that staff can just pick up the phone and have the electrician, the plumber, heating and cooling out to a facility is really helpful to addressing a situation in a timely fashion.
Like I said, the main purpose is to lock in labor rates, so they can't, if we call late at night, they can't increase the price on us at the last minute.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Quick question. Go ahead, Israel.
Oh, no, James, continue. Yeah, sorry.
Quick question on how so you award the contract. I did not look at it closely enough to be able to know the answer to this, but you say you lock in rates, your contracts for $9,000 some dollars. So in essence, it's do you pay as you go at that rate? Do you pay that amount and they work it off? And what happens? Does it ever expire? That type of question.
This is not a promise to pay Electric Plus $9,900. This is just to say that any work we would ask them to do, it's locked in at this rate. So when we do actually have jobs, then we do a quote system. I would go out and get quotes from different vendors. We had to kind of do that ahead of time just in case on, for instance, the 3 timers. And we did find Electric Plus was the cheapest. We had to do that for the broken light fixture. And we did find out in that case, the Electric Plus was the cheapest. So for an individual job, we would still get quotes for it.
So what benefit do they, what do they get for agreeing to lock into this amount, that you'll just come to them first, or that they're the preferred vendor? Is that what it is?
Well, we don't necessarily have a preferred vendor, but it does mean without this, they're not able to do the work. We can't, a vendor has to be approved and there has to be a service agreement for me to be able to have them do work.
Got it. Understand now. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So does this agreement also cover the vandalism or any kind of outside, not technical problem, but done by individuals?
So that would depend on the situation. A lot of vandalism the parks does end up having to pay for. The particular light that I mentioned from the car accident, that was an insured item. We would have to pay the vendor first, and then we are being reimbursed for that amount. But we do have to pay them first. So.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, if we don't have any other questions, then have a motion for this item B8, please.
I will move to approve the service agreement with Electric Plus.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you, Sean, for coming to us from Switchyard.
No problem.
And next up, Crystal Ritter, tell us about the Performing Arts Services Agreement template. That's that time of year.
Yeah, hello, I'm Crystal Ritter, Community Events Coordinator here. I'm here this afternoon to recommend the approval of the 2021 Performance and Entertainment Agreement template. This is an agreement that we use to book all of our performers throughout the summer for the Performing Arts Series, but we also use this agreement to book performers or other entertainers. An example would be maybe like a balloon artist for a variety of events that we put on throughout the calendar year. This agreement outlines the compensation, performance, any dates and times that we have arranged with the contractor or vendor, and the length of time that they will perform at all of these different events. These artists and entertainers, depending on what the event is, could either be paid out of the non-reverting account that's listed on your staff report or out of the general fund. We have used an agreement such as this for nearly 40 years to book performers to provide both our People's Park Concert Series and our Performing Arts Series to provide just entertainment at events throughout the year. Agreements, or how this agreement has been updated for this year, the only major change besides just updating dates is due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We made adjustments and added a force majeure clause that will cover any cancellations that we might have to take place due to COVID-19 or any sort of act of God. And then I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Crystal. And as Crystal said, we've had this for close to 40 years. So except for the COVID possible cancellation, it's pretty straightforward. Any questions about this one?
No, but it did prompt me. I just have a random kind of question about the hiring of artists. Do we have a cap on like how much we would pay a certain artist, or I guess it's pretty flexible based on the artist?
So it's a little bit different depending on the series. So for the People's Park Concert Series, which is paid out of the general fund, those are paid at a set rate. So there is a set rate for solo performers, a duo, and then for bands.
Okay.
For the Performing Arts Series, we get generous sponsorships from local businesses and different entities to help sponsor those concerts. So for those, we kind of work out payments, and that's based on a variety of different things. It's based on how much money we might have, who the performer is, how many people are in the band, whether they're providing something that's unique to the series that we can't get somewhere else, or maybe locally, then we might pay that performer more.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no set cap for that particular series.
Sounds good. Thanks, Crystal. I'm ready for Bryan Park concerts and
I am too. I'm ready for summer evenings and music and yeah.
Okay, all right, great. So do we have a motion on this one?
Yes, I'll move to approve the template.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion is carried. And then Crystal will also tell us about another longstanding agreement, this one with the Writer Film Series, to bring, speaking of movies, movie screenings to several of the parks this summer.
Yes, this is another kind of long-standing thing that we've done for a very long time. I'm also here tonight to recommend the approval of the 2021 partnership agreement with the Writer Magazine and Film Series. This partnership agreement allows us to bring to the community our Movies in the Park series. What is outlined in this partnership agreement is essentially that the Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department will seek out sponsorships that allow us to pay the writer to acquire movie licenses on our behalf so that we can show movies to the public within our parks throughout the summer. In addition, this partnership also outlines that the writer will provide advertisements in the Writer magazine that will help advertise these movies. It also outlines the rental and purchasing fees for the movies, as well as any additional fees that might be required for either advertisements or anything else. All of these fees will be paid out of the non-reverting account. We have been showing movies in the parks for over 20 years and working with the Writer film series for nearly 20 years as well. They're great to work with. They're able to get the movie licenses for us, usually at a cheaper rate that we would be able to seek them out on our own. And as outlined in your staff report, this agreement will not go over $1,800 for the movie licenses and fees to show the movies in the park. And then I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments on this one?
So not only are they doing the licensing for us at a better rate, but then they're also advertising for us too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, Crystal, I have a question regarding the selection of the films. Is that something that is done by the writer's film, or something that your office has a participation? I mean.
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's actually, it's done by all of the above. So we work with the writer. The writer provides a list of films, but then we also have input into those films. So we kind of work together to provide a list of movies. And then what we've been doing actually the last few years, I think the last 3 or 4 years, is we narrow that list to a selection of maybe 8 to 10 films. And then we actually put it on the Parks and Recreation Facebook page, and we let the public vote, have the final vote on what movies will be shown. So we narrow a list, but then we put it out to the community and ask for their input as to what movies they would like to be screened over the summer. And it's currently up on the Facebook page right now. So if you want to go and vote on the movies, you can go right now and vote for what movies you want to see this summer.
Israel is that you don't get to pick the movies.
Well, you get a vote, so.
You get to vote, so your voice gets to be heard.
Right.
And with the subtitles, so if the community or a group might request to have subtitles for a movie, is that granted?
Yes, we had a couple of requests for closed captioning and or subtitles last year. So that is something that the public can request. If there's ever any accommodation that we can reasonably make, within the department. For movies in particular, people can reach out to me directly, or they can reach out via Facebook. And we do look at all those messages, and closed captioning or subtitles is a common request, as well as last year with COVID-19 and using the social distancing seating circles. We saw several requests for seating circles that were accessible or on a flat surface. That way someone could bring a wheelchair into the park. So we can accommodate most requests pretty easily.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Crystal.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Crystal. So given that I'm married to the writer-director and he just walked into my living room, I'm going to recuse myself on this vote. So this will just be a 3-person vote. And so if we have a motion for this one.
Yeah, I'll move to approve.
But don't feel pressured.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Great. Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.
Kathleen,
Yes.
after this conversation, I can send you like some potential films that could be suggested.
Yes, send them my way and I will send them on to Peter. So yeah, go right ahead. All right, okay. And then Becky Higgins is going to come back to us and tell us about the partnership agreement with Area 10 Agency on Aging for the Enright Active Living Center and what they've been sort of pivoting to during COVID programming.
Good afternoon again. Becky Higgins, Recreation Services Division Director. We are recommending approval of the 2021 partnership agreement with Area 10 on Aging. Funding source is Parks General Fund Administration account, and it is not to exceed the amount of $20,000. Due to popular and community support and senior participation, the department would like to continue to support Area 10 Enright East Active Living Community Center in 2021 with funds not to exceed $20,000. While the center was closed most of 2020 due to COVID, it continued to provide virtual programming opportunities to over 500 senior citizen members, and the funding for opportunities will be provided, as I said before, through the Parks Administrative General Fund budget. And the chart that I put on there just shows that through the months, the memberships, even during COVID, continued to increase, and the participation continued to increase even as they switched to virtual programming, which, you know, the center had to close down. And if you're not a bit familiar with where the center is, it's located in the mall down by Macy's and the old Payless Shoes storefront, and it has worked out really well as an active center for our seniors, and they offer many programs, and people have been very receptive to it. And even during the summer and fall months, they did some small in-person physically distanced activities like bike rides, walking, kayaking, and hiking, but most of it was done virtually. So they're anxious to get back to providing live and opening the center up as soon as COVID allows that to be done safely.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Becky. Any questions about this partnership agreement? Okay. All right. Do we have a motion for this one?
I'm impressed to see that those numbers, Becky. Thank you. I will move to approve.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carried. Yes, thanks. Thank you, Becky. I'm glad they were still able to keep people involved even during the shutdown. So, and next up is Corey Hawkins to tell us about a partnership agreement with El Mercado for a monthly market event at the Banneker Center.
Hi, everyone. I'm Corey Hawkins, the program specialist at the Banneker Community Center. I'm here seeking approval of a partnership agreement with El Mercado in support of a monthly market to be hosted at Banneker Community Center highlighting Black, Indigenous, persons of color, artisans, and small business owners. In November 2019, the Bloomington Parks Foundation received close to $200,000 grant from Regional Opportunities Initiatives to create a community cultural hub at the Banneker Community Center to foster and celebrate diversity and inclusion within Bloomington and Monroe County. This includes working with outside organizations to connect Bloomington residents to diverse offerings. This mutually beneficial partnership allows El Mercado to utilize the Banneker Gym. Another Nessa Mercado will support local artists and minority business owners network where businesses and organizations can continue to meet community. In exchange for use of the Banneker Gym, El Mercado representatives will volunteer within Banneker after-school programs and events in an amount commensurate with the hours of use at Banneker. We're thankful for the support of El Mercado and city staff throughout this process. We're excited to have the opportunity to work with an inspiring local organization. We hope this agreement will be a positive experience for all and allow for future collaborations and development. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Corey. Just a little clarification. So it's a monthly market, and is it sort of, are there crafts, artisans, food? Is it a little bit of everything?
Yeah, the gamut is wide. It's primarily new entrepreneurs, small businesses that maybe don't have the capital to have a brick and mortar shop or to go to a larger venue. And so it's really fostering that sort of ingenuity in the artist community. And it does range from food to crafts to supplies to skills and knowledge as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions about this from board members?
I apologize for my ignorance, but can you tell me a little bit about El Mercado?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a new-ish organization to Bloomington. The El Mercado Cooperative speaks a lot to the Banneker Community Center mission. Their mission plainly is a community effort to create inclusive Bloomington and to make resources available to underserved communities. Their primary tenets this year are focused on small business development and sustainability within that community.
And they're just a Bloomington organization, is that accurate?
There are other branches in other locations, but this is the Bloomington chapter.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I can share that when I was with the Commission on Hispanic and Latino Affairs, we organized plan different events with El Mercado because it also reaches out to the Latino Hispanic community and in general to the minorities in our city. So yeah, I totally support and I really like the name El Mercado.
Me too.
Okay. All right, great. Any other board comments or questions? I think we're ready for motion then on this one, which is B12.
Yes, I will move to approve the partnership with El Mercado.
And I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion is carried. Thank you, Corey. We look forward to hearing some updates on this as this gets going. So, and then next is the review of the contract amendment with Oracle Elevator, and this is Darren Eads.
Good afternoon, James. Welcome to the Park Board. Just want to, if you remember back in December, we did a service agreement with Oracle Elevator, and after that agreement was approved by the Park Board and sent to Oracle for their signatures, there were a few changes that their legal department had found as well. And one was, the biggie was their name had changed since we did the approval, and it is now Oracle Elevator Holdco Inc. And then they had some requested some changes in Article 11 and Article 12 with some wording. And Daniel Dixon in legal looked at that, and he said the city was fine with those being removed from the agreement, and suggested we do the amendment and send it back to the park board. So other than that, there are no other changes than what we approved in December. And they're a great company to be working with. They service our elevators both at TLRC and Banneker. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Darren. Any board member questions or comments?
Move to approve.
Okay.
A second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion's carried. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you, guys.
And next up is, an addendum to also a partnership we saw before from Catalent for parking over at Twin Lakes. This is John Turnbull.
Good afternoon, John Turnbull, Division Director of Sports. Jim, welcome, and thank you for offering your time for our services. Before I start my agenda item, and if I may explain the service agreements, primarily for Jim, because a lot of them come out of my area, and I think Sean would agree that he could have explained it a little bit better. But the service agreements basically act as the quote or the bid for many jobs because, for example, when we get a water leak or an electrical outage, we can't wait a whole month to get your approval for that particular item. So we call them up and it's a guaranteed hourly rate that has already been agreed upon. So maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't. My agenda item is really easy. Catalent, as most of you know, the prior agreement has ramped up their head count greatly, and they need the offsite parking, which they shuttle. This extends the date on the prior agreement, and it also puts a cap on the number of spaces they can use because we begin our programs and we begin the activities on the site at Twin Lakes softball. So that's really it.
Okay, thanks, John. So Twin Lakes softball is going to be starting up this spring.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Good to clarify how many spaces they can use there. Any other questions or comments?
Thanks for the explanation, John. That helped, and glad to be aboard. And I move to approve.
I'll second.
All right. All those.
Yes, just one question.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Israel.
So, John, the change would be just it goes the date and also the cap, right? The limit.
Correct.
Okay. And in December, or when you presented the Sunday, Saturday, were also restricted for them?
I'm sorry I didn't get the end, but I think what you asked was they do use Saturdays and Sundays now, but we cannot have them use Saturdays and Sundays beginning in March because we have events during Saturdays and Sundays.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, John. Sorry, Jim and Helen.
Yeah, it's my hearing. I'm old, Israel.
Okay. All right. So I think we had a motion and a second on that one. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Motion is carried. Thanks, John. And then we have the next up, B15. We have the contract with Greenscapers Professional Turf and Tree Care for Alcott Park turf work and repair. Scott Peterson.
Yes, I'm Scott Peterson, the Youth Sports Coordinator for the City of Bloomington. We are recommending approval of turf work and repair on the south field at Alcott Park by a local company, Greenscapers. Work will begin in April until the items listed below are completed. Funds are not to exceed $4,119, but we are asking for soil testing, core aeration, slit seeding, fertilization, and weed control. It's a highly used park that gets a lot of people on and off, and it is damaging the turf there. So we are looking for somebody to come in and repair it, in which we are recommending greenscapers. We are doing the south field first, hopefully to be followed up by the north field later this year. That way we're not closing both fields off and really limiting the public's use of that area. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to. We did get 3 quotes, and greenscapers was a recommendation.
Okay, and have we used greenscapers before, Scott, or?
Not to my knowledge, but they have done work around the community in which we actually have gotten to go look at it. And they have a very nice proven record of success. Actually, the YMCA on the northwest side, they did a lot of turf work there on their fields, and it was in great condition.
Okay, all right, great. Any other board member questions or comments for Scott?
Yes, Scott, sorry for my big ignorance with this, but what is the core aeration? Is that the pronunciation?
Sure. So in order to make turf stronger, they have to essentially just put a bunch of holes in the ground, and you've probably seen it around where it brings up little pellets of dirt and mud. That actually strengthens the root of the grass of the turf. As those dig deeper, it strengthens the grass in the long run. And it sends oxygen down into those holes, and it sends water down into those holes. And essentially over time, it makes that turf stronger and able to withstand a lot more use.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I think looks like we're ready for a motion on this one.
Yeah, we can move to approve.
Second, and I'm always glad to see local companies be picked, but I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is
Thank you,
carried.
everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. And then B16 is another partnership agreement, this time with the Monroe County Historical Museum.
Yes, hello, Rebecca Swift here, Natural Resources Coordinator for the City of Bloomington. I'm here to recommend a partnership agreement with the Monroe County History Center for the curation of 9 historic artifacts discovered at Leonard Springs Nature Preserve late last season. If Kim could pull up, I did bring visuals of the photos of the artifacts. Who doesn't love visuals? So just a little bit of background, if you're not familiar with this park located on the southwest side of town, there used to be distillery and mill operations along the running springs out there. So the park is named after Leonard Springs, but it's actually usually the more famous Shirley Springs, the waterfall out there people see when they go out there. But Leonard Springs also used to have a distillery on it. And when we had staff out there planning for an outdoor education program, he uncovered some new artifacts that were discovered based on stream erosion, because the site was studied back in 1999 when an archaeological, it's hard for me to say, study was conducted prior to this being dedicated as a nature preserve. So this first photo is showing 2 metal rods. They were going to be left down in the stream bed until we came back another visit and saw that somebody had already pulled one out. So for safekeeping, we removed both of the metal rods. Next slide. We also discovered 1 length of chain, as pictured here down in the stream bed. Next slide. Probably the most showy of the artifacts found was this wheel hub made out of both wood and metal parts. We assume it's a wheel hub. I guess we don't know 100%, but another reason of why we'd love the History Center's help to study these a little bit more. Next slide. We did find 4 pieces of stoneware pottery. So here is the first piece of pottery. Next slide. Second piece of pottery. You know, while all of these are not as showy or as exciting, the next piece of pottery. Next slide. Maybe starting to look a little bit more like old jugs that we can identify. And last slide for the pottery, teacup. So this is a portion of a teacup discovered down in the stream bed as well. So these artifacts are thought to be, again, remains of the mill or distillery operations that once existed along Shirley and Leonard Springs in the early 1800s. This archaeological site had previously been studied in 1999, but due to the stream erosion, these new artifacts, as well as additional foundations, were actually discovered in the park, as I mentioned, while planning environmental education program. These are not along a trail or by any means something that park users would readily see, but all found on park property. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but again, the purpose of the partnership agreement is to loan these artifacts to the History Center for safekeeping and for further study. I do have Hillary Fleck in the meeting today. She is the collections manager for the History Center. If there's any very specific questions that I'm unable to answer today.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Do we have any? Thanks for including the slides too. That was really interesting to see. So any questions about the artifacts here?
No, very cool. Thank you for sharing. And I guess the foundations like that were also found, will those be marked in any way?
One of which is very near an existing trail that I would love to add an additional interpretive sign there to educate part users on a little bit more of the history. Some of this information is included on our signs out there, but when you have an obvious, when I say foundation, we're talking a couple bricks and you can tell they mark out, a clear 16 by 16. Sometimes people have the idea in their head that they're going to come and see an old, I think of that Parks and Rec episode with Leslie Knope, if you guys know the reference, but anyway, yes, I would love to eventually add some markers, some almost observation points, right? A point of interest, let's call it.
Yeah, that's great. There's obviously so much of that in other parts of the county where you can see old found, and it's always just interesting. And it is like a stone, but you can tell that it was something. And so like understanding what that is always really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But great. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Or if not, we can have a motion on this one.
Yeah, I'll move to approve. We partner with the History Center on this.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you, Rebecca. And next, Joanna Sparks will tell us about the contract with Purcell Monuments.
Hello, this is Joanna Sparks, the city landscaper. And I also have a slide to share with you. Kim, would you mind to bring that up? But I'm here today to request approval for a service agreement with Ronnie Jean Purcell, who manages Purcell Monuments, which is a local headstone and monument company. They have done work with us at Rose Hill and White Oak cemeteries for years, restoring and repairing old and new, depending on vandalism or whatever the needs are. Sometimes they just decide to fall over. But anyway, whatever the need is, we've been able to rely on them to provide excellent and professional service. So we would like to have a service agreement with them, not to exceed $2,500, which would come out of the cemetery's general fund for the year of 2021. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And that is a picture of some of the larger and more showy stones in Rose Hill.
Okay, thank you, Joanna. And I think I know when I talk to people in the public, they're often surprised to know that the Parks Department manages those cemeteries. But yes, and if you walk through there at any given time, there are some headstones that are suffering a little from the weather, or as you say, occasionally vandalism. So do you have any questions or comments about this for Joanna?
Yeah, I have a question, Joanna. So regarding the complicated repairs that is mentioned on the document, what is a complicated repair in a cemetery?
Well, I am not an expert on this, but I'm happy to share my layman's knowledge. basically the older a stone is, the more fragile it gets. And some of the stones in the oldest section, the original section of the cemetery, Old Spencer, those have been there for over 200 years. And the elements, rain is a big factor, but they just start to break down and become really fragile. And they do what's called sugaring. Like you touch an old stone and just little pieces of it come off like sand. Well, they're really hard to handle. So it takes someone with some experience to put those back together, because they do tend to break. If a limb falls on it, or just for windstorms, whatever events, they're more fragile. And sometimes I know that they have to drill in them and insert rods, and then oftentimes the foundations get out of kilter, so the whole monument will have to be carefully picked up and stabilized in a separate space while the foundation is excavated and redone, and then the monument itself is carefully put back on the new stable and level foundation. So sometimes they bring in big winches and equipment just because some of these stones are incredibly heavy. So it just, it's an artwork, it's an art form.
Right. And regarding you were mentioning vandalism. So I was just wondering about the type of vandalism and if it has increased last year, if we could see any kind of frequent vandalism in these places.
Well, I feel that we've been relatively unscathed lately, but there have been sprees where individuals have come through White Oak and Rose Hill Cemetery and knocked the monuments off their foundations, and sometimes that results in fractures and breaks. And we just basically, at Halloween, we always get a copious amount of jack-o'-lanterns and candles. People come to celebrate the season and bring decorations. But basically, I feel like we've been very lucky that the amount of vandalism is really minimal. Okay. And mostly, unfortunately, the main issue is weather, time, and occasionally we spend hours and hours and days throughout the season mowing and running string trimmers to keep the grounds maintained. So there randomly it will happen that a mower will bump into a monument and it needs to be straightened. And there's it's surprising how many things can go awry. But generally the remedy is straightforward and attainable.
Yeah, thank you, Anna.
Okay. All right. So I think, are we ready for a motion on this item, B17?
Yes, I will move to approve with personnel monuments.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. That motion is carried. And then Joanna will also tell us about Green Dragon Lawn Care contract for mowing services. This is both primary services, primary locations and also alternate locations.
Yes, Joanna Sparks, City Landscaper again. But yes, I'm going to present to you two virtually identical contracts with the same vendor, but for different locations. The first one is for the mowing and trimming services at 20 locations managed by the Bloomington Parks Department. And we put this project out for bid in December and allowed vendors to submit their bids. And on February 9th, we opened them, and Green Dragon Lawn Care was the lowest bidder. So that's why they were chosen. And they happily, they have a long history with us. they've been mowing some of these locations for over 5 years. So they have a great level of familiarity, and they, with the properties and also with our level of expectation, they've done a very professional job for us. So we're pleased to know that once again, we'll be working with Green Dragon Lawn Care to manage the grounds, basically all the mowing and trimming at 20 different parks properties. And that funding comes out of the Operations Division General Fund. And this contract is for an amount not to exceed $82,030. And this, the mowing period will generally be over the 26 mowing cycles is what we hope to get, which anywhere, depending on weather and conditions. In the spring, of course, there's the huge surge and we mow much more often. But then as the season progresses and it dries out and plants the nests, the mowing cycles spread out 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks. So overall, we guesstimate that it's going to be about 26 mowing cycles per property for this contract.
Okay. And yeah, and then also just to note, in case people in the public are wondering, we've talked about before, it actually makes greater financial sense to have these mowing contracts out with this local company rather than the Parks Department itself. It's kind of more complicated and expensive to have them do all of the mowing. Is that still true, Joanna?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, equipment maintenance is a huge expense. And another benefit of having a contractual mowing agreement is that the vendors can come in at 6 o'clock in the morning, or they can mow at 8 o'clock at night. They can mow on the weekends. They have much more flexibility than the park staff schedule allows. So they have a much greater capacity to work around events, public usage, and of course, weather.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I think we're ready for a motion on this B18.
Sure, I will move to, go ahead, Israel.
One question regarding the Ferguson Dog Park. Joanna,
Yes.
is the one with the highest price, right? 420,000.
Israel, I apologize. I don't have the exact breakdown of the quotes in front of me. I can get that if you give me a moment, but I will tell you about Ferguson. And that is, since the Ferguson Dog Park is such a high use location, we have we post a sign to notify everyone that on last year we mowed on Tuesday mornings. Folks knew that every Tuesday morning, first thing, the park would be closed, and the mowing company comes in as early as they can based on conditions, and they will mow. All the runs are locked up to keep people and dogs safe, and they will come in and they will mow one run, and then they will open it up. And then as they complete mowing the different areas, they open them up. So bear with me, I'm still digging through my computer here.
Right. No, I just the question is regarding that park, and you're saying that there are six times for the mowing.
26.
26. Okay.
26. Yes. Yes, because we April through the beginning of April through the end of October. That's the time period that
with the dog park, that would be the same day it's going to be open to the public and announced.
Yes, it's every Tuesday they come. So and weather permitting, is sometimes we do have to bump it to Wednesday or Thursday, but if that's the case, then we change the sign and we notify people, and we do our best to make sure the public knows, and we really do try to stick to the schedule, and trust me, the contractors do too, because they are very rigid and highly organized. They have a strategy with their locations so that they want to get it done on Tuesdays for us.
Perfect. Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think if we could have a motion, we'll take 18 and 19 right in a row here because they're essentially the same idea. So yeah, we have a motion for this one.
Yeah, I'll move for 18.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. And then the 19 is the mowing services at the alternate locations. So if we have
Yes, and
yeah.
okay, yes, there's 16 locations and they're public works properties. A lot of them are right-of-ways, parking lots, street medians, really challenging locations to deal with because of traffic and pedestrians and cars parked everywhere. So they can prove to be pretty challenging. So anyway, this contract for 16 locations is for an amount not to exceed $34,970. And yeah, everything that we talked about on the last contract applies to this one. Yep, same vendor.
Okay. All right, thank you. If we don't have any questions, we'll go ahead and take a motion on this one.
Yeah, I will move to approve the B19 also.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion is carried on that. And then Joanna will stay with us for one more item, the contract with J.R. Ellington Tree Expert for some tree removal in Lower Cascades as part of the stream bank stabilization and Cascades Trail project.
That's actually
yep,
Aaron.
That's Aaron's. Yep.
Oh,
Thank you
sorry.
all. Yep, and I'll yield to Aaron.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hi, that's actually mine, Erin
Okay.
Hatch, Urban Forester. So this is a contract as part of the Cascades Creek Stabilization Project and Phase 5 of the trail there. So this is with J.R. Ellington for removal of 23 trees with signage that has been up for about a month or so now. And staff is recommending approval for a contract with J.R. Ellington. The total cost is $17,400 for those tree removals. As part of the contract, there is some stipulations regarding protection for the trees that are being retained as part of that project to have ground cover laid down to make sure that any sort of equipment or machinery that goes over, we are kind of protecting those root systems, and prioritization to have that work done from the other side of the creek in order to kind of reduce that compaction from equipment as well. So these are trees of various sizes, species, and conditions, and this project was presented to the park board sometime in November.
Okay. Thank you, Erin. Yes, and we got into the details a little bit more on this at our tree meeting last week about this project. So are there any questions from board members for Erin about this tree removal?
Now I'll move to approve with J.R. Ellington.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Right. Motion is carried. And then Erin will also tell us about another agreement with Bluestone Trees for some tree removal and tree pruning.
Yes, this is just an open service agreement with Bluestone Trees so that we can kind of call on them as an as-needed basis for tree removals and pruning, such as like dangling branches or things like that, so that we're allowed to address the situation for these kind of potentially hazardous city tree situations without having to wait to the next park board meeting to put a contract through. This would be for about $20,000. And we had a similar setup as of last year as well. So I'm recommending approval of a service agreement with Bluestone Tree for these services.
Okay. And yes, and especially as we start to get into spring thunderstorms and such, if we get into any precarious tree situations, to be able to call them off hours. So, all right. Any questions for Erin about this contract? Service agreement, sorry. All right. All right. we have a motion on this one then, B21?
I'll move to approve the contract with, or I'm sorry, service agreement with Bluestone.
Okay. Second, and all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. That motion is unanimously carried. And then finally, on tree work, Aaron will tell us about a contract with Designscape for a tree transplant at People's Park.
As you've heard on various other from various other staff earlier today regarding the project in People's Park, this is related to that. Basically, a transplant of a small ginkgo tree in the park to locate it further away than where the ring light will be placed. So as the tree matures, we don't have as much of a conflict between this tree and these lights that would cause potential need for future removal or excessive pruning. So basically to allow this tree to mature appropriately. This is with Designscape Horticultural Services. And staff is recommending approval of this agreement with them. And we've utilized them for similar transplanting projects in the past.
Okay. All right. Any questions about this one for Aaron? Moving the ginkgo tree? No. Okay.
I'll move to approve the contract to move the ginkgo tree.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. That motion is also carried. Thank you, Aaron, for the details on all those.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And then finally, in our section B, it's the time of year for us to elect Board of Park Commissioner Secretary. We elected our officers at the last meeting, and so Paula will tell us about that.
Well, as you traditionally know, Kim Clapp, our office manager, assumes this position for the board. She is your minute taker, meeting facilitator, park board packet extraordinaire, getting all the materials together. So you just need to make a formal motion and vote to approve Kim Clapp as the secretary.
Okay. All right. I'm sure all of us would, especially as we've had interaction with Kim and all those packets and questions and contracts and updates, any of us would happily move approval of that. So Ellen, you want to go ahead?
Yes, thank you, Kim, always for all of the work that you do. It is a lot. So I will definitely move to approve Kim as our secretary.
I second both the motion and the thanks.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. Motion is carried with Kim Clapp as our secretary for this year. Then we have no reports this evening. We do have a couple of staff introductions, and then I think we have about 2 people waiting to make a public comment. So even though we don't have Public Works nipping at our heels there in City Hall, we'll try and wrap up here in the next bit. So staff introductions, we have Ellen Roach, an intern.
Hi, my name's Ellen. It's so nice to meet everyone. So I'm currently a junior at Indiana University studying tourism, hospitality, event management. And then I have a double minor in media, creative advertising, and human resource management. I'm currently the community events intern for the winter and spring season. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Right.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome. Great name. Glad to have you.
I know that was really confusing at first when they were like Ellen, and I was like, oh my gosh, me already?
Yeah, we're just gonna have the intern vote on and comment on all 22 items.
Yeah, that's too funny.
Trial by fire. So, okay, all right. Well, welcome, Ellen.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and then we have another intern in the sports division, James Hershberger.
Hi, everybody. I'm James Hershberger. I'm from Elkhart, Indiana. I am a senior IU majoring in rec sports management through the School of Public Health. I worked at Banneker for about 3 years or so. Also was a coach here in town at Jackson Creek Middle School last year. And I will be coaching this summer with the Zeller family, their distinction travel program. If anyone's familiar with Indiana basketball, you may know the name. But yeah, that's me. Nice to meet everybody. I also had the same dilemma as Ellen with the name. Nice to meet you, James. Welcome to the board.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Yeah, good to meet you, James. And I don't know if that cow behind you is in your home or you're in somewhere else, but I really like it.
It is in my home. I think my girlfriend picked it out.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome, James.
Thank you.
All right. And then the one and only named, I think, Sydney Grandland, Natural Resources Intern.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Sydney Grandland. I'm the Natural Resources Intern this spring semester. I'm from South Bend, Indiana, and I'm currently in my last semester of my undergraduate career at IU, where I'm studying environmental management and law and public policy. Before this position, I interned at Hilltop Gardens on campus, where I designed a new walking trail. Once it gets warm, I would highly recommend you guys go check it out. It's really cool. And I also held an intern position last summer with Notre Dame Center for Civic Innovation, where I learned a lot about community engagement and equity issues. So overall, I'm super passionate about sustainability and community development, and I'm really excited for this position to learn more about public service and to learn from everyone here. Thanks.
Right. That's great. A lot of good experience there. Welcome, Sydney.
Yeah, welcome, Sydney. Nice to meet you.
Welcome, Sydney.
Okay. And then finally, in our Section D public comment period, I think if you would like to make a public comment, if you could raise your hand or otherwise indicate there to Kim Clapp, and we can get you unmuted so that you can comment.
We'll give you just a couple minutes.
Okay.
I do not see any hands raised, Kathleen.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll just note that if someone watches later on and decides that they do have some comments, of course, you can email the department to let them know if you want to comment on any of the items on the agenda or anything else that you want to have some input on that's going on in the park. So we'll go back over to you, Paula, to wrap us up today.
Okay, thank you very much. I apologize for my coming and going. It was all the internet bug in City Hall. I'm now operating off my own hotspot and figured that all out. So you all continued marvelously. So thank you. Thank you for a great meeting. We obviously are very busy. We have a lot of projects that are ready to launch now that you've approved these contracts and service agreements and that. So that's always exciting. As you see, we've just welcomed a really awesome class of interns, which is always really great for our staff to interact and direct, and we learn from them as much as they learn from us. So it's always exciting to bring them on board. And I would just like to remind everyone that there is a city council meeting tomorrow night with an issue of proposed ordinance 2106 to add chapter 2.87, protections for people experiencing homelessness. This will definitely affect parks, and I will be speaking, and I encourage anyone who has an interest in that to please either zoom into the meeting or watch on CATS, and we will be addressing that and representing parks. And our next park board meeting is March 23rd. It's always easy, February and March, it's the exact same day. So we'll meet again March 23rd. I'm already taking agenda items. So we're very anxious to get the season kicked off and hope that we can keep everyone safe and under COVID yet again, but we're pushing forward. So thank you all, and welcome, Jim. Nice to have a full board to work with.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Yeah, thanks to everyone, and have a great evening. We'll see you in a couple weeks.